In this video, we're going to show you to install the master cylinder on your Toyota Tundra located under your hood. Let's disconnect the electrical harness right here. This connector, you're going to push down on this top tab and wiggle that out. And sometimes you'll have to use a pair of pliers or something to go ahead and grab a hold of that. Now right up here on the side, we have this harness attached to it via a little plastic strap. I'm going to use my needle nose pliers and pinch the little lock tabs on the back side. So all I had to do is pinch these little tabs right here, and that released that harness from there. Now we want to separate these two hard lines from the master base itself. Now there's going to be fluid left in the reservoir as well as the lines. So what I like to do is I'm going to stuff some rags down here. You don't want brake fluid leaking out everywhere, as brake fluid can be corrosive, and you don't want it to cause premature paint and or rust issues. So I'm going to stuff rags down here. Now I'm going to set a container here to place my master cylinder once I remove it. I don't want to bring it over the fender because I don't want to drip brake fluid on the paint. So I'm just going to detach it and set it right into that container. Now moving to the hard lines here, we're using a flare line wrench here. It's going to be a 12 millimeter. And we want to loosen . Once you break it free, it might be easier for you to convert over to just an open-end wrench without the flare line. The flare line really helps to prevent it from stripping or rounding off. Right now we have fluid coming out of that line area, and we are now separated. You can actually pull that out. Let's go ahead and do the same for the back line. Okay, so now we have both of the hard lines separated. We're going to move to the two nuts on the back side. We're going to use a 13 millimeter deep socket. We have a wobble head. You can use a swivel as well. We did spray those down with some rust penetrant. Go ahead and get the other one. I'm going to grab the unit, slide it forward, and then tilt it, and get that in our container. And we'll go ahead and remove this from the vehicle. Now we want to clean up around the vacuum booster here. I'm going to spray some solvent on a clean rag. We want to clean that. I want to make sure that that surface is clean of any debris. We want a nice, good sealing surface. And you don't want to spray the booster because you don't want to get chemicals down inside the vacuum booster. So just use a rag to go ahead and do so. You can use a little bit of the solvent on the ends right here. Clean those up. Now on the side of your master cylinder here, you're going to have rubber caps in most cases. You can just pluck these out. You can use a pick or whatever you have to pop them out, or like me, just get your finger on it, pull it out. Now we're gonna install our bleeder hoses here. We're gonna put this ear in a vise. Actually, we need to do it this way, and you'll see why in just a minute. We need to make sure that this port is facing you. Make sure it's level. Make sure it's good and snug. And we're going to go ahead to the top here. We need to pop off the lid and remove the strainer. Set those aside. We're going to install our bleeder lines. And this is what we call a bench bleeding process. Make sure that these are good. We don't want to introduce any air. I'm going to bend our lines down inside. Now we're going to fill this up with brake fluid. Now we have fluid in here. We're going to remove this cap. And we're going to activate our plunger here. And what's going to happen is this is going to push any air out, and it's going to recirculate, burping the air out of the system. Now we're using something round here. You don't want to damage the end here. We're going to do this several times. Make sure there's no air bubbles being purged into the fluid. And our system is in good operating condition. Drop our screen in there. Install the cap. Now you also want to pay attention, make sure that the O-ring seal is installed and it's pressed in all the way. This plays a crucial role because you don't want to end up with a vacuum leak afterwards. So make sure that it's on there and it's not damaged, clean, and you're ready to go. And we can loosen and remove our hard lines. So at this point here, our brake fluid has pretty much bled out of the master, and that is totally fine. What you don't want to do is push on this now, because then you'll inject air into the system and you end up doing another bench bleed. You don't want that to have to slow you down. Let's go ahead and remove this and get this mounted on the vehicle. All right, let's go ahead and line up our unit. Now there is a post or activating rod in the middle here, has a round end on it. That pretty much centers itself inside the unit there. So let's line this up. Okay, slide that into place. Now with this lined up, Let's go ahead and reach down there, and we're going to get these nuts installed. Get the one installed on the other side over here. Now I'm going to use my extension with the socket, and I'm just going to thread them on a little bit further by hand. Now before we just zip this down, ideally you want to push this back and make sure that that is seated into that booster. You want to snug those down. Now we will torque those, but what we want to do now is install our hard lines on the side. You have to be super careful with these. You don't want to cross thread these lines. And once you get these started, you can go ahead and snug those down. All right, once that bottoms out, you want to give it just a little bit more. You want to make sure that's good and snug. All right, make sure that's good and tight. Let's go ahead and spray this down with some solvent, get some of that residual brake fluid off around the outside here, clean it up. We can remove all of our rags now. Then take our electrical connector and align that up and install that on the front side here. Line that up, push it in. You're going to feel it and hear it lock into place. Let's torque down these nuts to 18 foot-pounds. At this point, we can open up our cap and let's fill this up with fluid. Make sure you're using the appropriate brake fluid recommended for the vehicle. Now what we have to do is perform an entire brake system brake bleed. So we're going to overfill this for now, as we're going to lose brake fluid down at the calipers themselves. Put our cap on. And let's continue to the brake bleeding process. Now that we topped off our master cylinder with fluid, we're now going to start our brake bleeding procedure. Now we have someone inside the vehicle who's going to assist us with this. And we're going to start at the right rear wheel, and then we're going to move to the left front, left rear, and finish at the right front. Now we're using an 8mm box wrench right here, and we have our bleeder container. We're going to go ahead and have them pump up the brakes and hold it. And we're going to put our boot on here and crack this open. And what we're looking to do is relieve any air bubbles in the system. Okay, pump it up. Okay, continue. And again. And you can see we're getting a solid, steady stream of fluid here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the left front wheel to continue this process. Remove the cap off the master and fill to the full line. Install the cap. Now on the left front, I'm going to go ahead and do the same process here. Now our brake bleeder on the front here has a rubber cap. If yours has it, just go ahead and pop it off. If it doesn't have it, then you're all set. I'm going to put my wrench on here, get my bleeder bucket ready, and I'll go ahead and have them pump up the brakes. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead. And we're getting a solid stream of fluid here as well. Go ahead and pump it up. And we do one more for good measure. Okay, pump it up. Now at this point here, you can go ahead and release the brake. We now want to go ahead and go to the engine bay, and we're going to top off the brake fluid reservoir with fluid, and then we're going to continue and repeat this process for the left rear, and then finish up with the right front. Remove the cap off the master and fill to the full line. Install the cap. So at this point here, if you've hopped into the vehicle and the pedal still feels soft and squishy, you want to repeat this brake bleeding process a second time. For any reason, if it still doesn't feel firm, you want to go ahead and use a scan tool to do a pressure bleed using the tool.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.